I actually had a negative reaction to the mayor's statements today. I think it's wrong, frankly, to vilify or attack people of faith. You said thoughts and prayers ring hollow. I think thoughts and prayers are the most solid on days of tragedy for people who live their faith every day. And I think on a day like today, particularly in a church community, there are probably people praying harder for comfort today than they have ever prayed in their life.
That's Scott Jennings reminding liberals that their open disdain for Christians and even the most basic human compassion isn't just ugly, it's politically toxic. When tragedies strike and the first instinct of Democrats and their media allies is to sneer at prayer and turn the whole thing into a stage play, it shows the American people exactly where their priorities really are. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like Democrats and their sleazy media friends have found yet another tragedy to turn into theater. Because when it's Christians who are targeted, the only script they know is mockery, sneering at prayer, and pretending they care. Here's Scott Jennings calling it out.
And so I think, and I've heard others on the left today that go down this line of attack against people of faith, sort of denigrating the idea that they might want to pray today. And so I think his statements were misguided. The thing that struck me today, Abby, truthfully, when I was watching this unfold, was that the two little ones that died were 8 and 10. I have 7 and 9. Those are my two youngest. They turn 8 and 10 in a few days. And we could probably sit here and argue out all the issues of faith and transgenderism and all the other things that have been raised today, but it strikes me that none of us ever want to know the terror and the absolute empty hole that will never be filled that those parents of the 8 and 10-year-old are going to feel. And I just thought maybe tonight the most useful thing any of us could do would take 10 seconds and just sit quietly and be still and be quiet and think about those families, because they are never going to be the same, no matter what we say.
You know, Jennings is absolutely right. Young people are starting to become more interested in Christianity, and attacking prayer isn't going to land the way Democrats think it will. I mean, when people are hurting, faith is what sustains families. But these liberal elites treat it like a punchline because they're stuck in the Bush era and have got nothing else to offer other than vitriol. And notice the double standard here. If this guy had been a Trump supporter or listened to Joe Rogan or something, the media would be wall-to-wall about MAGA extremism. Instead, they downplay that this guy literally had violent anti-Trump slogans scrawled on his weapon. Because that's the establishment media game. Mock prayer, play victim, protect their narrative, and pretend Christians aren't the real targets.
That forget about thoughts and prayers. These kids were literally praying when they were murdered through a church window.
And yet again, like clockwork, half the politicians in our country have little more to offer than thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering. Join all of us in praying for the victims, was Vice President J.D. Vance's response today. That's what he said. That's it. Please join me in praying for everyone involved, Trump wrote. We have seen this play out over and over again. There is a shooting, then come the thoughts and prayers, and then comes the attempt to shift the focus. This is what always happens. You're going to start seeing narratives. You're already seeing them. They're already out there about how the shooter was trans. You're going to see narratives about how the shooter appeared to be anti-Trump and anti-Semitic, and clearly was in the midst of a mental health crisis. There's no question about that. But here's the thing. There are trans people all over the world. There are anti-Semitic people, unfortunately, all over the world.
And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone.
Because there's been some confusion about what the shooter's name was.
Yes.
Robin Westman's mother applied to change her child's name in 2019. It was at one point Robert Paul Westman.
Correct.
But since she identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage, it's now Robin West.
You know, the left basically treats attacking thoughts and prayers as their secular punchline, but what they're really doing is their own hollow version of what they're claiming to oppose. It's all just liberal virtue signaling on social media and television while doing absolutely nothing for the victims. It's just like all of the bumper stickers, pins, and profile pictures they use to seem compassionate. I mean, Jen Psaki even said thoughts and prayers herself after mocking others for it. And here's the kicker. These are the same people who brag about being single-issue voters for what they've rebranded as reproductive health care. Yet now they're suddenly pretending to care about the lives of children. It's pure performance from reject theater kids who only act concerned when it fits their politics. Here's Byron Donalds exposing just how dishonest that game really is.
But your friend Jen Psaki posted on X, when kids are getting shot at in their pews at a Catholic school mass and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe you should rethink your strategy. Setting aside the fact that that's a run-on sentence and a non sequitur, what's your point about that?
Jen Psaki is a hack trying to make a political point. The reality is the tragedy that occurred today in Minneapolis is once again where the Democrats are ignoring some of the serious mental health challenges affecting young people in the United States, especially around gender identity, this transgender movement that they have fully gotten behind. On a broader level as a country, we have to take mental health much more seriously. I mean, look at the magazines, what was written on these magazines talking about going after Christians. Where is your God? Going after Israel. Actually writing there to kill Donald Trump. This is the insanity from the hatred that has come from the left. And so if they want to now come out and be mad at people who are trying to sympathize and empathize with the families, and especially the families of these two young kids that were lost, they need to re-examine everything about their party. It's not the time for politics. It's about comforting the families who have lost two young kids and then examining all the public policy so that this doesn't happen again. And I will tell you, once again, this is not about guns. This is about mental health issues that the radical left refuses to acknowledge comes from their crazy ideology, which is damaging so many children in the United States who are now becoming young adults.
I mean, these people protect criminals and act like the victims are just political props that are useful only to emotionally blackmail voters. Meanwhile, they completely ignore what's really happening. Attacks on Christians and churches have exploded by 730% since 2018, with 415 incidents in 2024 alone. But you didn't hear a peep about that from the media. Yet when 35 trans women were killed in 2023, mostly in crime-related or domestic situations, the left called it an epidemic and a genocide. It's total hypocrisy. Protect one group at all costs, demonize the other. And it proves Jennings' point, mocking prayer and mocking Christians doesn't make Democrats look strong, it exposes exactly who they are. But let me know what you think. Are Democrats showing their true disdain for Christianity when they mock prayer after tragedies like this? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.